Welcome to the Exposer. Today we'll be exposing Spac Nation pastor Enrique Uwadaye. Enrique, who is from South London, was born in May 1996. He was known also as Wavy Ricks and was heavily involved in the streets. At the age of 15, he was arrested for a double attempted murder, but the charge was later dropped. At 17, Enrique was stabbed 4 times, and he had his partner with him who fought off the person who stabbed him. So Enrique has mentioned in the past that after the stabbings he joined Spac Nation and changed his life, but that's not true, because after the stabbings Enrique was back on the streets. He did join Spac Nation, but only changed once his partner gave birth. He joined Spac Nation because he knew Spac Nation had a reputation for changing the lives of gang members. That's what the church always portrayed itself to do. Pastor Toby always wanted to have that reputation for challenging the gang culture, for helping the black gang members, but he always had a long-term plan, because Pastor Toby's main reason behind having these gang members is because he knows in the long term these guys will do everything necessary to get him money. So when these young gang members join the church, Pastor Toby shows off his lifestyle, has these guys around him, makes them crave that lifestyle, and he makes them believe in the Spac Nation way. Once these guys believe in the Spac Nation way, Pastor Toby knows once he has ex-criminals around him for his protection, and he also has guys that are known for making money. So as you guys know, Spac Nation ordain pastors because of their giving. Sometimes it's because of the influence. So Pastor Toby really liked Enrique because of his reputation. He wanted to be known for helping a young man who was heavily involved in the streets. So Pastor Toby would have Enrique around him a lot of the time. He wanted that for reputation. And he also wanted to groom and show Enrique how the Spac Nation way works. So for Enrique, it was all about timing, because Pastor Toby has 2 things. He wants you in his church for your reputation, or he wants you in his church because you're going to give him a lot of money. It's one or the other. Because having a reputation gives more name to the church, gives more recognition to the church, or having someone who's going to give helps him financially. So it's one or the other. So Enrique was more for the reputation. So 5 years later, Enrique was ordained as a pastor. That's because now Spac Nation had really trained him and turned him into one of them. So now Enrique was introduced to finding ways of making an income. And as you know, Spac talk about souls 24/7. So with Enrique, it was more about getting these young men into the church and finding a way of making an income from these guys. So Enrique became one of the top pastors at one of the main fellowships in Spac Nation. That fellowship had a lot of people who gave a lot. A lot of leaders would gather enough seed to give to Pastor Toby. They would always hit target. So if they will hit above target, and then what they would make extra, the pastors will keep for themselves. So for example, Enrique could try and get 1k every month to give to Pastor Toby. That's the way it worked. His fellowship may have had 10 to 15 leaders, and each one of them would have a target of making £1,000 to £2,000 every month. So what Enrique would do, if he made more than 1,000, anything extra he made will go in his pocket. So this was the first move of making an income. But if these guys couldn't get the seed, they would influence other members of Spac Nation to take out loans. So Enrique would encourage people to take out loans. And because of his influence as a guy that was on the streets, it was easy for him to tell another gang member who's trying to change his life, or a changed gang member, to take out a loan. Because the way they break it down to the guys is, if you take out this loan, we'll later close the account so you won't have to pay back. They make them feel like credit score isn't important. So for guys that lack the education, they don't hesitate to take out a loan. So if they're able to take out 3, 4 or 5k loan, Enrique could tell the guy, you can take out a loan, you can get 1k for yourself, give 2k seed, and give me 2k. This is just an example, but this is how they operate. depending on the credit score of the person. So basically Spac had different routines of finding a way of getting money. So Enrique, if he couldn't gather people to pay enough seed for him to reach his 1k a month as a pastor, then he would encourage people to take out loans, or he would go and evangelize the people to take out loans. So these were the systems Enrique was used to as Spac Nation. So as time went on, Enrique became more competitive. Because as Spac Nation, Pastor Toby creates a spirit of competition. He gets all the pastors to compete against each other, and all the pastors want to show off, because everything about Spac is all about maintaining a certain lifestyle, impressing people, because they spend most of their days trying to deceive people. They drive around in cars that they don't own. They wear clothes and borrow each other's clothes, and most of the cars they're driving belongs to Pastor Toby. So there was a video or a documentary which Enrique was on, where he mentioned Pastor Toby bought him the BMW he was driving. The car he was driving wasn't his car. The car he was driving was owned by another pastor. But on the video, he just wanted to make it look like Pastor Toby gives them everything for free. But that was a lie. There was a lot of acting in that documentary, just for the ratings and just to make Spac have a good image. But back to Enrique. Enrique would gather a lot of kids at his trap houses. So depending on the age group, if they were old enough to take out a loan and their credit was good, then he would do what he has to do. If the kids were younger than under 18, then he would groom them. Just have them there to do things for them. So these young kids will go out and try and bring other young kids to Spac Nation. They'll try and influence other people to join Spac Nation. So they're there for one or the other. So these young kids that are around them are there for two reasons. They make money out of them, or they use them to bring more people to Spac, so that on Sundays the church is full. You guys have seen videos of Enrique hitting a young kid with a belt. I don't want to put too much light on that incident, purely because that kid has been through a lot. That kid is troubled. That kid has left and has been abandoned a lot of time by Spac Nation. He's desperate because he has nowhere to go. But when he's with them, they mistreat him, make him do anything, which is quite sad. We all saw the video where Enrique is hitting him with a belt and laughing, but he humiliated the kid because they're filming the kid while hitting him. And I can tell you guys that that kid is very, very troubled. That kid has been through a lot, and these guys only use these kids to do whatever they want them to do. So these kids will be in the house just to clean, do things like that for them. But on a day-to-day basis, these kids will get sent to go anywhere and get told to make sure they bring a certain amount of people back to Spac Nation, go and find souls, or go and find someone. Or these kids get trained to fool and manipulate other kids, so that when these kids come, Enrique can twist their mind up just to try and get something from them, whether it will be a loan or whether it will be something else. Whatever it is, that's what these young kids in the house that live in a trap house go through. These young kids in the trap house sometimes go days without eating, like feeding off scraps. They're very mistreated. And we saw a video of Enrique again with the young man, where the young man's explaining how he's known Enrique for a long period of time. You can clearly see on that video that he was forced to do it, because like I said, this kid is very troubled, and this kid has openly admitted, he's told a lot of people that I know inside Spac Nation that he's been mistreated so badly. He's left Spac Nation so many times, but he just doesn't know where to go, and he has nowhere to go. So he always ends up returning there. If someone else can offer to support this kid financially and just give him an opportunity, this kid will run away from Spac Nation, because he's not happy in these trap houses. And this is what goes on inside those trap houses.
Like, untangle the thing from your hand. So it's too short.
It's too short? Your hand!
Give your hand, my friend.
Hand. That I was being mistreated, and that I was being abused, and I'm a victim, which is not the case. But I've known Pastor Enrique since 2014, going on 15, and he's helped me.
5 years already?
Yeah.
He's like your son, man.
Wait, hold on, it's like, you don't feel comfortable speaking in front of everyone.
Like, this is your family, as you know.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Just to be sure.
Everyone in this game is cheating. That's all I know.
You're rubbish.
Everybody's cheating.
I'm intrigued about
What's
this.
it called? You guys have been my family for a number of years.
Yeah.
You guys have been my family for a number of years. When I was homeless, you gave me a place to stay. You paid for my education, my tuition, paid for my clothing for another month, fed me without asking for anything except for me just to listen to. And me being painted out as a victim or someone that's being mistreated is totally a lie. You can see by the video that I was smiling. Like, I have a good relationship with Pastor Enrique, so this message that a pastor is abusing one of his members or grooming them to now take advantage of them is totally not true. Like, I'm living with them now, I've been living with them for a number of years, and the message that, yeah, that's what I say.
You just saw in that video, he's being whipped. Even though he's laughing, it's because he knows he's on camera, he's being filmed. So he doesn't want to look like he's being victimized. But this is what goes on. Kids get mistreated in these trap houses. They do anything wrong, one little thing wrong, they get whipped. They get kicked out of the houses. And this young man, like I mentioned, has been through a lot. He's been kicked out of other trap houses. He has left Spac and come back only because he's very desperate. And I don't want to really put him out there too much, but you have to understand that it's not just a normal child that's just getting whipped and they're joking around with him. This is a child that's really been through a lot. He's going through a lot right now. And he's having to be filmed while he's getting whipped by this guy. And then they make him do a video just to try and clear up the allegation. Because they don't want the allegations or rumours of them abusing these young men in their trap houses. Because one thing we need to know is, a lot of these young kids, some of them are even under 16, are living with these pastors. Mariam herself has said a 14-year-old is living in the house. So we know for a fact there's underage kids living in these houses. And there's a lot, some of the members we're living with are criminals, ex-convicts. Social service isn't aware that these people are looking after other people's kids without declaring anything, which is wrong. Because they need to be checked first before young kids can be living in their houses. And this is what was going on at PT's house, where Connor had to leave PT's house because social services came to tell him he can't have any of ex-criminals living in the house with these kids. So PT had to kick out Connor along with a lot of the other pastors that was living with him at the time. He has moved houses. So a lot of the guys have gone back to living with him until social service manages to see where PT's living. But right now, his new location, his name isn't on it, so they're not going to find out where PT's living. So in terms of business, Enrique has a company online called Rick Styles Limited. He's a recruitment consultant there, director also, and the company was opened on the 14th of December 2018. The company is still active, but just expect it to be dissolved probably by next year, because I've mentioned so many times why these guys open these accounts, and as you can see, no telephone, no email address, no website reported, no socials, nothing. There's no record of anything, no assets, net assets, turnover, employees, cash in bank, debt ratio, there's nothing at all. So we all know why he opened it for a quick loan, and he's going to dissolve the company probably by next year. And while that company is active, he's also been, by the way, frauding people, getting people to invest in the company that doesn't really exist, just to get money, just to make it for his seed, and just so he can afford to buy his suits. So this is what they all do, guys. So Enrique is also part of that. And recently, Enrique was voted into 25 future faces under 25 most influential people in 2019. The reason he was part of that was because Spac Nation have been promoting and saying that they've helped a lot of youths get the knives off the streets. So that's one of the reasons, and Enrique's face has been used at the forefront of that. So this is why Spac Nation have tried to use that to their advantage. They tried to boast about it and said that they've helped the government save over 200 million because they've apparently stopped a lot of knife crime in London. This is what Spac Nation believe. But I can tell you guys this. Spac Nation pretend to get knives off the streets. When I mean pretend is this. In the church, and this has happened a few times where I've seen it with my own two eyes. Spac Nation, while everyone's praying, there's like an altar call. I would see someone carry a bag, leave it on the stage, and then the pastor will say people have dropped knives, people have dropped weapons, people have dropped drugs on the altar. He does this and gives it to the police. So the police think that Spac Nation are getting knives on the street, but these are planned. So Spac Nation are the one actually getting the knives and pretending like young kids are coming to the church and dropping on the altar. They're pretending that they're influencing kids to drop the knives on the altar. I'm not saying it's never happened, but I've witnessed Spac Nation actually plan it. So this is how the connection with the police began. This is why I have a small relationship with the police, because the police believe that Spac Nation are actually helping the youth getting knives off the streets. But I can tell you there's a lot of acting. So this is the reason why Enrique was voted as one of the most influential under 25, something like that, in 2019. So here we have a guy who abuses young kids in the trap houses. We've got a guy who cons people. And we have a guy who uses his position to lie to the public. A guy who's allegedly fighting the knife crime in London. But I can tell you what he does in his spare time is try to find people to con. That's what he does most of the time. He's not out there stopping guys from stabbing each other like Spac Nation promote it. It's all a promotion. That's all he's doing, just to boost his name and his reputation. But Enrique isn't the guy that he portrays himself to be. So this is the exposing of Enrique.